Hi there, good people. Thanks for tuning into another episode of His Daughter, Her Dad. If you've been tuning in, you've been listening to a series that is focused on who my dad is. I attribute who I am based on who he is. And so we're exploring his life. Today, we are talking about his life as the worker. He's a hard-working man. He's been working as long as I've been alive. But I'm curious about how he's been working all his life, because I like to work too. But before we get started, we're going to do something real simple, because, you know, there's this thing called dad jokes out there. And my dad doesn't really do dad jokes. And so I'm trying to get him accustomed to doing dad jokes, because I like dad jokes. I like jokes in general. So you got a joke for me?
Because of you, Deidre, I'm going to come up with a joke.
You coming up? Hold on, wait a minute. Did you come up with this joke, or did you find this joke?
Because you love jokes, and I didn't never know you love jokes like that.
Really?
Yeah. So
you made up this joke?
Well, I got a little...
You got to tell the truth. Did you make the joke up?
I'm not a joker, so I can just pick out someone else.
So you found this joke from somebody?
Yeah, I found it somebody else. Okay, so it's
not mine. Did you get it out of a book?
Well, you might say that.
Get the book so they can see what book it is. Well, I got them a book.
She got me a book, but...
Show them the book.
Okay, she want to see the book. She wants to see the book.
No, they want to see the book.
Y'all can see the book.
I got him a dad joke book.
She got this... It was a joke when I received it, okay? The joke was on me.
He needs help.
Yeah.
All right, what's your joke?
Oh, well, let's come up with this one. How come you never hear a train choke?
I don't know.
Because it always remember to chew.
Oh my gosh. This is not bad. It's not bad. It's not bad.
I mean, you want one.
Dad jokes. Thank you for giving my dad a good joke. And you delivered it well. Claps off to you. Claps off to you.
Thank you.
All right, all jokes aside, we're going to dive a little bit deeper into our next segment, my dad as the worker. I find myself working a lot because I like to work. I find joy in working because that's how you can get things done. And I imagine that I got some aspect of that from my father to some degree. And so I'm curious, Dad, like, what was your first job? Like, let's explore you, the worker bee.
Okay, the worker bee. All right, my first job. If you don't mind me, can I lay a little foundation to my first job? Just a little bit.
Fine. Do whatever you want to do.
Yeah, well, this is fun. See, people got to understand where we were and where we are now.
Yep.
Well, really, when it came into my first job, I really didn't know. Going to school and high school, a lot of guys had jobs. And
during school?
During school,
okay.
Yeah. So what I ended up doing, I needed a ride. So I ended up working for a fast food place. Okay, I started off at a fast food place.
What fast food place?
Always McDonald's.
You worked at McDonald's?
It wasn't long.
Did you get fired?
No, it just wasn't really. It was not at that time. It was only just enough to pay for gas. I wanted to buy a car. I needed a car. Okay, so I worked at McDonald's for a while and got the basics. And I was the one
Did you learn anything from McDonald's?
How to drop fries and keep the timer. Even though the timer went off, I pulled them up, dropped them, you know.
So you didn't follow directions? You made fries your own way?
No, I made it their way.
Oh, okay.
Not Burger King, their way. That was a joke. Anyway, but I did that for a while. And later on, I had a first cousin. She was working with a major department store. It was called Wilson Jewelry. Mm-hmm. Wilson Jewelry. And she knew I was looking for a job, so she asked me what I could just come out there and put an application in. And I did. And this was a jewelry store, but it kept not just jewelry, they kept everything. that had housewares, had sporting goods, all the departments. So I actually went and started working as the stock clerk.
Okay. Did you need a job or did you just want a job?
I wanted a job. Well, put it like this: Dad at that time was the only one providing for the house after Mama passed. So clothing and needs, and I'm up age, so I needed a job. I needed to buy clothes, not just for myself, but for my siblings or whoever need in the household, because I was still at home. So yes, it was a need.
And a want.
Yeah, because I wanted a car, because I needed a car to get around. Okay. So after working with service merchandise for a while, I ended up going out and purchasing my first Camaro.
You bought a Camaro?
Yes, a Camaro. It was a toad green Camaro. Toad green.
Toad green.
Yeah. It was like a toad.
Toad. It was toad green.
Beautiful.
Beautiful.
Yes. So that was my first car and my first full-time job.
Was it new or used?
Oh, of course it was used.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
So did you have to like fix it up?
No.
Oh, it came ready.
Yes.
Who'd you buy it from?
Car lot.
Okay.
Yes.
Oh, I bet you were proud.
Well, at the time, it was more.
Nah, you were
Not
proud.
proud.
I remember being at the gas station not too long ago, looking at this fella pumping his gas. He had new plates and, well, you know, the little temporary plates. And just the way he was walking around his car, just looking at it, the way guys just love their cars, you had to have been proud, like buying a car off the lot.
I was proud, but guys always remember your first car is almost your first dream, but then you start dreaming, then come with a lot of responsibilities. When it's time to repair and keep it going, you might love it, but you got to take care of it. And that caused a lot of responsibility, but I enjoyed it. So
what year was your Camaro?
That was a 1975 Camaro.
Okay.
75 Camaro. 2-seater, shifting the floor, automatic. Loaded the ground. Later on, I wanted to sport it up, and I bought me some. Back then, we have chrome wheels.
Oh, I think chrome still exists, Dad.
But back then, it was very few who had them.
Oh, not everybody had chrome.
Right. Yes.
Okay.
So I was.
Sounds like a typical teenager. Buying a sports car, juicing it up.
Yeah. But I stayed focused on school because I needed to finish.
Okay.
But all the guys at school wanted to ride, but they couldn't ride with me because I was always working.
Oh.
I would stay busy. Weekends, I had some little time off. But anyway, that was my first 2 jobs, to get in a car and getting ready for the next.
So, you know, working at that time was a necessity for you and a desire for you. You were able to help with family. You were able to, you know, get your basic needs met as well. When did you started shifting from thinking about work as I need money for A, B, and C, and shifted towards work in the mindset of a career?
It came a little bit later because at that time I graduated, and I actually went into college, my first year in college. I was mostly focused on, I had a degree. I was pursuing a degree in drafting technology, okay? So I was mostly shifting to thinking about school instead of career. Okay. What happened at that 1 year after I was in college, I decided to move away on my own into my own apartment.
Okay.
My mindset, I wanted to be able to help my family, but the house was a little crowded, and I needed to, go a little bit further. So when I moved away, it caused me to now make another decision job-wise, because it was requiring a little bit more money. So then I began to focus on school, but yet still focus on how I'll be able to afford an apartment and a car note and still be able to take care of things with my siblings. So I decided I need to change my job. So I got into the thing about not so much a career, but stabilize myself in a financial way.
Sure.
So then I pursued a job that would accommodate me going to school during the day and be able to study.
What was that job?
I started working for United Parcel Service,
Okay.
UPS,
Okay.
at night. And I
Okay.
got a job at night. So I worked
Okay.
at night. I went to school during the day. So that job afforded me to take care of an apartment and other things that I need. So that in my mind, and I didn't know it at the time, I was focused on a career. I just focused on need.
Right. So when did that shift happen? UPS was not a career move for you. When did you first make your career move?
It wasn't a career move until after it's. I remember going, and this is so important because I was wrestling with going to school, maintaining all my financial needs, and I was trying to determine my next, what I need to do next, and I was getting a little bit depressed. All the things I saw my family need, and it still was based on my family, but as a man, I needed to know what I need to do next to help. So I remember about 19 years old, going to school, working at night, coming home, and I was empty. I remember real briefly, what did I do next? So I couldn't, all these years I was doing it on my own. At this time, I started going to church. And I remember at 19, I decided to go to this church, and I was baptized. And at that point, I began to search inner David and didn't know it, but I was really searching inner David to find out what I need to do because I've seen a lot of people going places. So that brought up in my mind the first stage of trying to focus on a career. And that's what's really hit me. So after one night praying, I began to say, I was asking, I just didn't know what to do. I needed help. So it allowed me to say, and I didn't know it, it allowed me to just go to school and work. Those things you desire will come to you. It was saying that to me, but I didn't recognize
What's it?
Of those things, what was coming to me, but like job-wise, career-wise, because I was going into, wanted to get this degree, and I heard of young men's leaving college, working for big firms, architect firms and things like that. That was always in the back of my mind because I didn't think I can do it because it wasn't done in my family, the people around me. But I knew of companies when I was going to school and taking the class, they would introduce different companies to us about what the company was doing. So it gave me a little insight. Hey, that could be a possibility.
When did the shift happen where you then took action in focusing on a career?
Okay, that didn't really happen until I was almost finishing college when I was about to the last 6 months of going to school, thinking about what I was going to do. And the shift didn't happen, even though when I finished college, I didn't come out in a career.
Sure.
Because it was nothing. So
Why do you think it was nothing? Why was it?
Because when I received my degree, I didn't get an opportunity during the summertime. A lot of companies would hire interns. I missed that opportunity while going to school.
Okay.
So when I finished, I didn't have any company was seeking me.
Sure.
So I was seeking a job, any job, and I was putting resumes in.
So what would you say was your first career then?
My first career actually started when I actually got hired on with a college. I was recruiter to recruit.
I didn't know this.
Yes.
You were an admissions recruiter?
Not admission. It was somewhat. It was called a cosmetology.
Cosmetology.
Right.
Uh-huh.
So we would find students, ladies, who wanted to come to this particular college. Okay.
Wow.
And we was recruiting them in, and that's what our job, just go around and find, because they had a quota to make on a monthly basis.
So where were you going to find these ladies?
Word of mouth, this out there. There's no specific place.
You had plenty of sisters. Did you ask your sisters to try to recruit your sisters?
They did not want to go into that.
All right. So you're a recruiter for cosmetologists.
Yes.
All right.
And that went on for about 3 months, and I wasn't a producer.
Okay.
So they let me go.
Okay.
Okay. And when they let me go, it caused me to wonder. I remember the day they called me in the office, and they had to let me go because I didn't meet quota.
Mm-hmm.
I remember picking up the phone and calling one of my first cousins because I was devastated. I mean, I had the passion. I didn't have the numbers. Mm-hmm. Okay. And that's another thing. When you're into things, you got to, when you take responsibility, you got to make it happen. I remember calling him up on the phone and say, listen, what do I do? I'm being let go because I ain't got the number. He said, don't worry, just go ahead and do your exit interview, and things will work out. Later on, he had started a company, mm-hmm. and it was a company dealing with accounting, mm-hmm. and it was dealing with small business. He did it from his home, mm-hmm. and later, a few weeks later, he asked me to come over, and we sat down and talked about it. And he, at that time, told me about I could come and work for him.
You're now working for a company that is providing human resource management for other small businesses. Like what your previous jobs, they weren't a good fit. How long did you end up working for this company?
It involved until I worked in 2004.
Right. So how many years was that?
It was over. This company was Super Home Care.
Yeah.
And we talking about over 30-some years.
Over 30-some years. So what made it a good fit for you in the first 3 to 6 months? Why did you stick with it?
It availed me the opportunity to find what my values were to a company.
What do you mean by that?
When I was working, even though I finished college with a degree in drafting technology, a minor in business administration, business administration, I never applied it. I knew how to draft, but the business side, I didn't think I know that. But sitting there working with small business, doing the accounting, I was actually inputting a lot of numbers all the time, mm-hmm. working on the financials mm-hmm. with his guidance. Mm-hmm. And he was teaching me, and that opened the door to make me feel a little comfortable mm-hmm. working with numbers and solving problems, mm-hmm. financial problems. So that's the first 6 months, I felt a little bit more comfortable helping out, and I made a difference where the company didn't need another person. I actually filled in that position.
I think that's really key because so many people don't necessarily know what their pathway looks like career-wise, and a large part of that is because they've never really seen the path or never been in the position to experience an aspect of that path. And so for you to step into this space that was somewhat unknown to you, you had skill sets that could apply for the job or apply to actually accomplishing the job. What I think is most important is that you had someone that was there that saw your ability and coached what was necessary out of you through that process. Because most people, like I said, don't know. And it takes another individual or an experience to help them come to terms with that. You talked about your values. I think this is a good segue to talk about values, and then we'll pick back up just to wrap up the worker and 30 years of experience in this one company, because people aren't spending 30 years at their jobs anymore. But we did an exercise not too long ago. When we were starting this podcast, we did an exercise, and a part of that exercise was to understand our values as individuals, because we don't necessarily have a forthright conversation about values. We may incorporate our values or our beliefs into a conversation, but we don't necessarily have a intentional conversation about values. So Dad and I sat down with 80 some odd values, a number of them. And our goal was to organize these values from very important to somewhat important to not important at all. Right. Now, we have to be honest, because what we talked about was that when we did this podcast, we were going to be open and transparent with folks, that we were going to be vulnerable with folks. Talk about what immediately went through your mind when I asked you to do this exercise.
It brought back, here we go again, because in the past I used to go through a lot of different values assessment with companies, determine your weakness and your strength so they know where to place you.
So he wasn't excited, but he did it. And it really wasn't talking about weaknesses. The goal, and I had never done this exercise before I introduced it to you. I had done it maybe a week before. And again, I had like 80 some odd words that were in front of me, and I had to narrow them down. And it was not easy to do that. And so, Dad, I definitely appreciate you going through this exercise with me. And we're going to talk a little bit more about this as we continue the show, because our values are important. But really the reason why I wanted us to go through this exercise is because, one, I wanted to narrow what my values were. I was spreading myself too thin and spreading my focus too much on all the things that meant something to me. I really wanted to make sure I was focusing on something that I could at least nurture. And I couldn't nurture 50 some odd values, but I could nurture 5. And so we've narrowed them down to 5. And today, what we did in the exercise was, once we did all of our 5, we then talked about each one of them and why it meant something to us. And so these were, Dad's is a little bit small, but you don't have to hold yours up, Dad. But these were the values that were my top 5. And so what we're going to do today is, Dad, you get to choose one of your top 5. I get to choose one of my top 5. And we're going to talk about, even though we've heard it before from each other, we're going to tell them why this value is important to us. So you want me to go first, or you want to go first?
Well, I'll let you go first. Ladies first.
Okay. All right. So out of my 5 values, the first value I'll say is knowledge. Now, this is not in order of importance, just to know. They made sure that all of our top 5 values we are supposed to hold dear to us, as you hold dear your kids, right? No kid is a favorite. No value is a favorite. So the value that I want to talk about today is knowledge. And what's cool about these values cards is that it gives you a little bit of a definition, just to make sure that you're in alignment with what this means. And knowledge on this values card says, to learn and contribute valuable knowledge. And I've always been one of those individuals. I want to know things. I want to understand things. I'm a firm believer that the key to knowledge is understanding, whether I'm understanding my history, understanding people in the present, understanding what can happen in the future. Knowledge without understanding is simply an awareness. And I choose not to be simply aware of most things that happen for me. I want to know about the things that are happening around me. But more importantly, I want to know and understand other people. That's the part that is very, very important to me, is truly knowing and understanding people who are around me. So that's my value. It's something that is important to me. And so when I'm prioritizing so many other things in life, I can go back to my value sets and say, all right, how much time am I putting into nurturing these values? Because if I don't nurture them, then I experience challenges. You want to talk about one of yours?
Yeah, I can. But I want to let you know, when I did say, when I start looking at this, I felt good about what I was doing. I say, this is great. Why? Because over the years, when I was doing that time shift, you have to shift. And I needed to know where I stood at this time. So when I started looking at them, I really got into it, because it readjusts who I am from what I was. So when I looked at it, and I looked at the one, and it means a lot. Most people hit my other one, but I'm going to go with this one right here.
Okay.
Passion.
Passion. What does that mean?
Well, the definition of passion, when we walk in it, to have deep feelings about ideals, activities, and people. Okay? A lot of people say, I got passion. We can say what we have, but when you walk in it, it's hard, because you have to demonstrate it.
What is passion? How do you demonstrate your passion?
Well, you take something that's...
How do you? So
I'm saying I take something that's important to me, which means it's important to someone else, and find a way to nurture it, to bring the fullness out of it.
So you're passionate about helping other people.
Yes.
Okay. Cool beans. So what do you think about my value? The one I shared with you.
It's powerful. I love it.
What does it mean to you as it relates to me?
Say it again. What was
knowledge?
Yeah. Well, it means to me about you.
Yeah. Did you learn anything about me knowing that I value knowledge? Or did you assume that I already valued knowledge?
I had no assumption. I already knew you value knowledge all your life.
How?
Because the way you carry yourself and how you articulate when you are trying to learn things, you always be able to come back and articulate it and bring it out. So I see when people around you who share new ideas and new things, it just excites you because you like to engage into that. Because you just don't sit still and take it. You get more and more and more. That's knowledge. So, yeah.
You want to know what I think about your passion?
Well, she going to tell me anyway. Go ahead.
I do think that you're passionate, and I do think that you focus a lot on trying to help others and instill values. Not necessarily instill values, but assert wise counsel to others. You take a lot of joy in doing that. And I think that is your way, and that definitely brings you joy. But I'm curious about how you can start exerting that energy within, like being passionate about something that doesn't have anything to do with anybody else and leaning into that passion. Yeah, that's what I think about it.
That's good. Thank you.
Well, we're going to come back to values next go round, and we're going to round out the discussion on you, the worker. So the last thing that I really want to talk to you about as it relates to being a worker, you're in a job for more than 30 years and had various roles in this job. How do you think you instilled values in parenting as it relates to the worker component? What did you learn in working that you wanted to make sure your children knew when they went to work?
I wanted them to know working you had to be consistent. because consistency was not something I just wake up and say, this is what I would like to do. This is what I need to do. And my need became what I was walking in.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted my kids to see that so they have a choice. They know to receive the desires of their life. They got to put something into energy. And the energy is seeing you take yourself from one point and move to another point. So my whole thing was I had a value of, as an individual, because of the way I was brought up and saw it, I knew the outcome. Hard work became everyday thing for me. But at some point, you have to not love the type of work you're doing, but love your accomplishment and the work you're doing.
That's really important. I was working on just trying to coalesce some of the work that I've been doing. I found myself just going from one project to the next, one project to the next, and someone asked me a question like, what have you been able to accomplish? And so I couldn't say it off the bat. So I had to go back, to my receipts, if you will, go back to my files to see what I had done. And like looking at the work, now mind you, I've got a lot more work to do, but looking at it, it was helpful in embracing what I've been able to accomplish, because it's something that I can look to when I feel down, when I feel like I'm not accomplishing anything or I'm not getting things done. So that's really helpful. I don't know if you remember this. Well, you do remember this. You've got to remember this. I remember wanting to work and like wanting my own money to do what I wanted to do with my own money. And I was applying for a job, Subway at the time. And you walked in the house and you said, "What are you doing?" And I said, "I'm applying to work at Subway." Like you said, if I was gonna get what I wanted, then I needed my own money. So I sought out to get my own money. And you interrupted my process and said, if you're gonna go work for anybody, you're gonna come work for me. And you made me come and work for you. Why did you do that?
Well,
Was like I was a sophomore in high school.
It's almost like I knew of an opportunity, not because you was my daughter. I knew you would fit in for what they need, not coming there to work and say, "You're my daughter." There was a job there, and I knew you would be able to do the job. If they was going to hire someone, they was needing to hire someone who's qualified to do it. You weren't qualified because of your way, your desire of, you just like challengers. You'd like to be challenged. And I knew this job, you would have been able to took this job and run with it and gave the company what they need at the same time met your need.
Well, I ended up working there for 3 summers, and they were trying to, I think I even came back and worked a summer after I came back from college. But it was a very unique experience because it was in a home care agency, and I was able to learn every aspect of the agency. You put me in human resources first, which was easy for me because I was filing papers, but I was learning the business. I was learning what you needed when you came on and the onboarding processes and all that. And then one summer I was in the nursing department, and so I was filing doctor's orders and making sure that billing matched up with orders and scheduling. And so it was just so much to learn. And then I think the last year I worked closer with you, preparing for OSHA, and things along those lines. So I definitely did learn a lot, and it helped me understand business in a way that I probably couldn't have understood it. I did develop a bouginess for school supplies, so I no longer wanted to go to Walmart to get my school supplies. I just went in y'all's office cabinet because y'all had the good pens. Y'all had the good pens. Well, Dad, anything you want to say to wrap up this conversation?
Well, I just want to say when I saw you, I actually felt belonging. And a lot of times with many jobs, people think it's connection. It's you need to belong. And I saw that, and that made me proud. I didn't have to monitor you. I saw you from a distance. I was able to do my job, but you actually impact a lot of people was there because they wanted you to be a part of it. And I knew that it was a win-win on both parts, the company and your development.
Yeah, I will never forget my first boss, Bobby.
Yes.
A Filipino woman who whipped me into shape in more ways than one.
Yes,
in more
she
ways
did.
than one. She made sure I was ready. She wouldn't settle for nothing but the best. So really appreciated her. Well, thanks for tuning into another episode of His Daughter, Her Dad. We've enjoyed our time chatting with you today. Make sure you go and follow us on all of our platforms. We can't wait for you to connect with us soon.